Welcome to Politica Show on Lions Wire. Today is February 2nd, 2025. And as always, Ilya Levkov is going to provide latest analysis of news from Israel and US. We'll talk about politics and changes, especially in Israel. Ilya, welcome to the show.
Thank you for trusting me, and I hope you do it upon the request of our uh, viewers and visitors.
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
Ilya, there are a lot of changes in Israeli government. Let's shed light on what's happening there.
All right. The first thing is rather historical, but nobody mentions why it is indeed historical. The historical fact is that the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lands today in the USA for a meeting with President Trump. Now, normally it would say, fine, those are old allies, they met many times, they're meeting once again. However, it's as it's saying, it ain't necessarily so. Why? Because the US tradition of receiving the first head of state for years was that the most loyal and close ally of United States was Germany. And usually the Chancellor of Germany would be the first one who would fly to United States to meet the new president. Now imagine, you see, with all that, with all the tararams it was about the second Holocaust commemoration on January 28th and all that, why is Israeli Prime Minister is the first one who visits the President of the United States? You see, this is an invisible shift that took place in the last 50 years, 40 years. I remember, those who are curious, you can read a big, thick volume that I contributed and edited. It's called Bitburg and Beyond. And the problems that were on the issue of Holocaust during this visit in winter. It was a little bit after winter. That is in March, I believe. I don't remember precisely. Visited Bundeskanzler Kohl visited Reagan. It was his second administration, that is 85, 85 and 85, 86, 85. So 1985, that is. So this is by itself a very interesting indicator how our world has shifted. Nowadays in Germany, you know what's happening there, the big trouble, and the right, some call it extreme right, and some they have extreme and they have the center right party, is gaining plenty of support. So this is the first item which I would like to mention, because it's a very meaningful, and it points out. I could check, when the first Israeli prime minister came to visit President Reagan in his second administration. I just, off the top of my head, I do not remember it. Now we have another thing that happened about a week ago. It was a documentary which was titled Shabak New. What does it mean? Shabak is a Shirutei Bitachon, it's internal intelligence of Israel in the territory of Israel and the adjusted territories, Gaza and the West Bank. And
Its function is counterintelligence, right?
well, it's a intelligence. It's like the FBI. FBI has intelligence and counterintelligence.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a FBI in a way, practically, not in a way, of Israel. And the point was Shabak. The acronym is Shirutei Bitachon. They call it Shabak. Shabak knew. What did Shabak knew? Or what did Shabak know? And this was a story actually about the stages of the Oslo opposition and who killed Prime Minister Rabin. It was shocking, I want to tell you, to me, because though I follow, though I know, but very often, the things that we, the political analysts, and I'm celebrating 60 years in being a student and scholar of political science, I forget too. So, at least not in those, images and videos that were shown in this documentary. And there were two people. The fellow who was a provocateur, those who studied the Russian history before the revolution, they might remember the name Azev. He was a classical Azev. He was a part of the Shabak, and he was provoking the right wing of Israeli population, in specifically the settlers, to confront and to create friction in order to sabotage, to show what will be the results of the forthcoming Oslo agreement. And it was very, very, how to say it? I received a dose, injection of reality by seeing these things, and I read several books and on this topic, specifically on this topic. But one thing, when you read a political analysis of somebody, and the other thing is to see the video news that were happening, and the two heroes, that is, Avishai, we'll call him, was a kind of a unofficial representative of Shabak within the right movement of Israelis. And it was he and his handlers in Shabak that must have known what is cooking within the right wings. They must have, the Shabak knew people and what was being presented to them by the insider Avishai, and also they knew that there are trends that threaten the life of the Prime Minister Itzhak Rabin. So the question now is, if Shabak knew, who else knew? And there they said that even knew several people, if not numerous, what is going on the territories with settlers, and also said that trend and this goal to assassinate Rabin was known to him as well. And it is very, very, that is, as I mentioned, I have several manuscripts and books on this topic. One of the book actually was given to me by novelization by Topaler some 20 years ago and more. So the question is, did the Israeli society overcame this trauma? Because it was also a national trauma, and it had an impact, and the impact which is being alive nowadays, especially when there is such polarization between the left and the elites. It's actually more elites. Not all of them are left. Let's say you cannot call the the Supreme Court of Israel left. They don't have the dominance. They had the Chief Justice was clearly on the left. So he himself was a child of Holocaust, came from Germany in the earliest age to Israel. So those elements are shook the Israeli society last week by seeing once again this documentary. I want you to know, and as maybe I mentioned to you before, there is also immediately, it would happen even before that. Uh, there is a proverb in Israel that says the sanctity of Shabbat uh, cease to exist when it's an issue of life. So in Hebrew it is pikuach nefesh, what I will call it, is more important than the sanctity of Shabbat. So the joke in Israeli was recently pikuach nefesh, the sanctity of life, doche eliminates Shabak instead of Shabbat. You understand? They are very witty people, and actually, thanks to that wit, the uh, Jews in diaspora succeeded to survive. The best anti-Semitic jokes were, of course, written by Jews themselves. And as a matter of fact, this fact was once noticed to the American blacks. Suggestion: listen, you should be the ones that provide the best jokes about American blacks. So the reply was there: yes, you can afford to have castigate yourself in your case, but in our case, we didn't have Einstein. That is, the moment you are occupying the top of the hill in some fields, and in very important fields, you can afford to joke about yourself.
So, Ilya, so what exactly did Shabak know? Did,
Oh, Shabak knew, said he provided the gun to the shooter.
Yigal
Uh,
Amir?
yes, to Yigal Amir. They knew everything. There may be even this was, he exchanged the bullets because there were shots from two places, 2 points of shootings. And this is the main thing, that they knew that it will happen, and he really teased him. Oh, don't play hero kind to the Avishai, to Amir. He was saying to him, "No, you cannot do it. You are too chicken," and all that stuff. That is, he prompted him and supported him. That is this cry that Rabin will destroy the state of Israel. And therefore, Shabak knew he would not have dared to do it by himself without informing his superiors in Shabak. And in Shabak, as I want you to know, in Israel, there is a sector of people that are gutsy. This was a gutsy. The first one was the commanders, Israeli commanders. Therefore, thereafter was a no, parachutists of Israel. Then there
Sanhanim.
were Tzanchanim, that's right. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you something about Tzanchanim, because and of course fighters, airplane. What's the matter? Airplanes. No,
Air
the
Force.
military airplanes. Tayasim. So the best, once again, in the Israeli mentality, it came out in several so-called jokes and virtual kind of slogans. One of the slogans was about the Tayasim, the fighters, the air fighters, was the best to go to be the airplane. And it's true, they were very, very pretty, considered to be the best. It started in the 60s, So they were, and as a matter of fact, this trust and belief in air fighters was actually one of the problems on October 7, 2023, because the entire army was, because Air Force was receiving the biggest chunk of financial support from the government at the expense of tanks divisions, of having reservists to beef up the inside Israel, if there would be a similar attack, etc. So the proverb was so called, the best are for the airplanes, the airplane fighters, and the best girls for the boys, yes, of the airplane. So what interesting was another thing, many Israelis in the 60s, before the 6-day war, and even partially thereafter, when Israel, after 6-day war, when Israel conquered Sinai, they found that there were Bedouins, some areas of Bedouins, and they suspected, and they dug in the sand. And in the sand, they found hundreds of stolen Israeli cars. What was amusing, that several of those cars, called in Hebrew, there was a sticker on the back window, says, join the Tzanchanim, join the paratroopers. Where and these cars were riding in Cairo. Can you imagine?
Oh.
So you don't have to be witty, the history made the fun. That Israeli owned cars stolen, and with the sticker join the paratroopers were riding in the streets of Cairo. Okay,
Right.
Let me run forward, because I can tell you stories and stories. One of the unbelievable stories that happened today, practically today, is that in Israel opened the entry for Rafah, one of the, and they received, the Hamas received food, and among that food, he received several trucks of, could you guess?
No. What?
Thank you. Thank you for being candid with me and with our viewers. Several trucks of cement. Several trucks of cement. The cement that built all those tunnels. What do you think? They will use it immediately rebuilding Gaza, the Hamas, etc. Actually, their destiny will be decided in Washington in the forthcoming day. We'll talk about this later. But nowadays, they received, why did Israel give them cement? For what purpose? Okay, this is something to know and to think about this. Let me say a couple of words about new chief of staff. And the kind of unbelievable story is his name. His name is Tzvi, no, Eyal Zamir. Eyal, and only in Israeli we have. And Eyal is a deer, the animal,
Yeah.
and Zamir is a nightingale. So it's in a way when you say dear nightingale, that's the name of him. Uh, he is a year. He is not the youngest. He was a very very interesting background. His father was. Uh, um, Under deputy general, high rank of general, and his grandfather came to Israel from Yemen in the 20s, which is unusual. But which is more unusual, what was the dream of David Ben Gurion? Ben Gurion, he stated it openly, said one of those days, a Yemenite will be chief of staff. So here we have finally the dream of David Ben Gurion came into reality. I don't want to tell you too much, that thing. He grew up in Eilat because his father was there, we were part of the. But there were some other military people, or chief of staffs that grew up in that city of Eilat because their parents also were there, and one of them is Shaul Mofaz and Gadi Eisenkot. So three generals were born in the most southern town, not a city, town was, maybe now it's a city, Eilat. And then he studied in Tel Aviv. He finished high school. He finished before military school, preliminary type of a high school. Then the gymnasium. He went to the most famous in Israel. It was the first Israel high school called Herzliya, and there he moved through the ranks. I would like to read you, translating as I see it, his most important kind of when he left the army, because the last year he was in the Ministry of Defense, and I will go through his bio very, very fast thereafter. He gave a speech which was a prophetical one, and let me read it to you. What did he? I didn't have a chance to sit and translate it, so
Sure.
I will just shoot from a hip. One of those days we'll face the possibility, very, very so-called dire, because there will be military operations, heavy military operations. They will be prolonged. They will be multifrontal, and together with the challenges inside the state and outside. And even the defense of the territory of Israel inside will be also in a question. And therefore, we will need a government which could cope with those most unusual demands. And for the first time, as I mentioned, there will be a threat about the inside of Israel military activity, not only on the borders and beyond as it happened before. That is what happened right now. He mentioned this situation many years ago, which speaks about his, I don't know, ability to think and not to be. And so I will run fast He was born in 1966, as I mentioned. See, in 1984, he joined actually the tank divisions, was uh, in charge of a unit. Then he went to officers' corps. Then he was already managing Hativa and Gdud, the divisions size, and Morok it's what Plada, never mind. Mefaked, then he participated in the tank, chief of tank, 2002, 2003. He was in charge of subdivision 7. In 2007, Ugda, it's a division above it. Maskir in 2012, he moved and he was the political advisor to prime minister in 2012, which is what Netanyahu already. Then was the chief of Southern District. As a matter of fact, in 2015. In 2018, he was a deputy chief of staff, and 2023, he was general Mankal. He was a department. He was the chief of department of Ministry of Defense. He studied abroad in United States and France, and an interesting he moved away. He was not too long per se in the army, because he went to the Ministry of Defense and told you secretary to the prime minister. And this way he was out of that so-called inside kitchen of the chief of staff and the generals around, which cooked up very. I can tell you, comes to my memory by chance. It just we had in our building, the parents lived in area. I don't remember. He was a young general, and Rabinovich, with the name Rabinovich, and he would come. He had 3 kids, and they lived with their mothers, and he would come rarely alone. And one of those days, simply, I was walking behind them far away, and then suddenly his wife was, questioning, why don't you ask for higher rank and all that thing? Why don't you talk to Moshe? Moshe, meaning in Hebrew in those days, was Moshe Dayan, And he was telling her, brushing her aside, please don't talk like this. You simply don't understand what's going on in the army. So this is my inside secrets of the, said what was happening. So but it's important because he was not bred in this particular incubator of the chief of staff. Said all their lives they went in straight line within the army and army only. Mm-hmm. All right, listen. This is enough about the night.
I wanted to go back for just a few moments to Yigal Amir and assassination of Itzhak Rabin.
Yeah.
So that same year, there were attempts to do the same by Yigal Amir, right? This is not the first attempt to assassinate, or there were plans to do it before.
Okay, at this point, I cannot tell you. I know that it was the only publicly what is known, what could be and didn't take place, and somewhere in the archives or whatever, I don't want to speculate about this, but I could provide you later on. I see if I could manage it. They were in those days, as was against Netanyahu. He was shown a poster in the SS uniform. You hear me? The same thing made a counter poster, Rabin in the SS uniform. It shows, the Israelis, the recklessness and daring of the recklessness, which could be positive, and unusual in the army, but when it's in politics, it easily slides into the no, never land. It
Yeah.
should not have been whatever you just can imagine and knock your opponent. But this was the beginning of the polarization, which we are living through it nowadays.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Okay.
All right. How many minutes we have?
I
You
think we need to wrap up.
wrap
So
up. Oh, let me just give you 2-3 points about the USA.
sure.
So, as I mentioned to you, one of the problems that Israelis are fearful, and I think I touched it before, that uh, President Trump, he is indeed uh, so-called a tank in a Oval Office, and he is doing many things, and in such intensities that never been known to be in the history of the United States. So one of the things with the back, just about the Trump, you see, he has a dilemma now. On one hand, he dared to attack Somali. It was. Not really. Yes, they're controlling this area of the Red Sea, as you know, Bay and then Red Sea and all that. But on the other hand, it's really far away. But he decided those Somali pirates and those who, in a way, in cahoots with Houthis, he decided to bomb them. So on one hand, this was in a way the first military action was undertaken with very obfuscated goal. That's the point, with very obfuscated goal. Now the question is, he mentioned a very radical. For Israelis, they didn't dare to i.e. the transfer of Palestinians to other lands far away from Israel, and let the Gaza be governed by Israel, whatever form they decide. Now, Israel, the name of this action is transfer. Transfer, the word transfer is a poisonous word in the Israeli language. They call it, became an Israeli word, transfer. Transfer were done to Jews during the Holocaust period. So to make Israelis repeat similar actions in Israel, it's unbelievable. It's mission impossible. So, but still, Israelis, even who wished, even who desired to do it, could not say transfer. And without a label, you cannot have a concrete policies. Now, in this particular case, this word was pronounced by Trump. It almost was like a present on a silver plate delivered to the world and to the Israelis. Yes. So, of course, it will be discussed and not for public consumption between Netanyahu and Trump. However, this constellation has a problem for Trump, as I understand. It's simply my understanding, and here I'm projecting something. He acquired all the laurels, comeback kid, which happened only once in U.S. history before. He acquired that he was a convicted felon in a way as in court. He survived 2 assassinations. He, in a way, had all the, big words that will be written on his tomb. The only one who remains, yet so-called not. He thinks, what could he do something that immortalize his name of one and of a kind forever, and this would be, of course, gaining some goals that particularly in Middle East, where he already began, and thus earning the Nobel Prize for Peace. Now, not that he needs it, but it's simply the only pick which is left for him if he will restructure the Middle East, put the Palestinian issue aside, and that will be durable, indeed durable, and almost instantaneous peace. And it also will solidify and stabilize Egypt and Saudi Arabia. That is the most important allies of the United States in the Middle East today. So, therefore, it will be indeed an achievement, a great achievement with a radiant future, However, this in a way also ties his hand. He cannot, let's say, row towards gaining the Nobel Peace Prize, and at the same time using the harsh hand to subdue the Hamas, the radicals in the Middle East, and Gaza, and the West Bank for this, you see, because it will be self-evident that Gaza supports Hamas 85% of West Bank population support Hamas. So therefore, in order to extinguish the fire in Gaza, you have to extinguish the fire in the West Bank. How to do it, to what degree, with what intensity, we don't know. But simply looking at the map, potential map, is this will be his main thing. The other thing is that nowadays in Republican Party in the Senate, they have an advantage of 53. But there are two others senators that also are questionable. So he has about 3 to 5, that is three abstention of the for nominating the remaining of the cabinet. He can live by having the Vice President Vance voting, as it happened already. But if there will be 5 Republican senators which will abstain, even not to mention vote against, then he is on the losing side. And this is the so-called the last bastion of Trump, of the Republican Party, to be reshaped in the image of Trump. And the image is wide coalitions from below to the top, to the top if possible. And therefore, there are problems with Bill Gates nowadays. I don't want to go into this, but plenty. In any case, and the last one that I would mention, it's now already appeared in the New York Times, and there is a more detailed information how from the October the 6th, Trump and Elon Musk navigated to take control of the financial machine of the United States government, doing payments. That is a very detailed, and actually it will be within your field. Maybe we shall talk about this next time. In any case, they restructured the payment. The Department of Finance was automatically payment. Any payments that came to that department was automatically fulfilled without checking. You understand? The Elon Musk just showed that he can save $4 billion each day by controlling all the payments procedures of paying to various Americans and other contractors and subcontractors and all that, be they in the United States or abroad somewhere. So at this point, it's for the first time a glimpse that somebody who is not political, who has never had experience. Yes, he dealt with government, but therefore he understood. He assigned this to a team of top-notch engineers in internet and management, computer management, and they laid a hand and got access to the entire process, which is now exclusively under the Trump administration. Unbelievable. You can multiply how much money that is. Per year they will save over what? Over $1 trillion, 365 times 4. You will make the calculation.
Yeah.
You are the engineer, right? And with this, I will, I think,
we can adjourn
the program. I will try to send you some photo of, this is a final thing, of Eyal Zamir. The photo is very interesting and very meaningful. It's a photo of him and age when he entered the army. Unbelievable, that face. You know, when I look at him, I said, I know this generation like my palm of my hand. You know, it's it's practically, you know, the same generation. Well, he's 24, 23 years younger than me, but 23. So, but it still was that generation such I am so intimately familiar. The look, the face, you could, you can, in a way, jump into this photo, and if you know in and outs of Israeli culture, it's written on his face. Daring, together with naivete, seeing black and at the same time being